Hello, everyone, and welcome back to American English Zone Podcast, where we focus on practical expressions that you can actually use in real conversations at work, at school, or even when you're traveling and meeting new people for the first time.
Yes, exactly. And today we are going to share some more advanced English expressions that will help you sound more confident, more natural, and more comfortable when you speak English in everyday situations.
Many learners already understand basic English, but sometimes they feel stuck because they don't know how to express their ideas clearly or respond naturally during conversations.
That is very true. And to be honest, one of the most important things you can learn is how to use expressions that show understanding, agreement, uncertainty, and even polite disagreement when you talk to other people.
Let me think about a good example. Because sometimes people ask me how they can sound more fluent, and I usually tell them that fluency is not only about grammar, but also about knowing the right expressions to use at the right time.
That makes a lot of sense. And one expression that I personally use very often is "as far as I know," which is a polite way to share information when you are not completely sure about something, but still want to give your opinion.
Yes, exactly. And that expression is very useful, especially when someone asks you a question and you want to answer carefully without sounding too confident about information that might change later.
For example, you could say, "As far as I know, the meeting starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning," which shows that you believe the information is correct, but you are also open to the possibility that it could be different.
That's a great example. And another expression that many learners find helpful is "it turns out that," which we use when we discover new information that surprises us or changes our understanding of a situation.
Yes, and I remember a time when I thought a restaurant was closed, but it turns out that they were just renovating the building, and they reopened a few weeks later with a completely new menu and design.
That sounds like a perfect real-life situation, and it shows how expressions like "it turns out that" help us tell stories more clearly and make our conversations more interesting and engaging for listeners.
Another expression that learners should definitely practice is "on the other hand," because it helps you present a different opinion or show another side of a situation without sounding rude or negative.
Yes, exactly. And this expression is very common in discussions, presentations, and even casual conversations when you want to compare two ideas or explain both advantages and disadvantages of something.
For example, you might say, "Working from home is very convenient and comfortable, but on the other hand, it can sometimes feel lonely because you don't see your coworkers every day."
I see what you mean. And that example clearly shows how we can use "on the other hand" to balance our thoughts and express more complex ideas in English conversations. Another expression that I personally use very often when giving advice is "from my point of view," because it allows you to share your opinion in a polite and respectful way, especially when discussing serious topics.
Yes, and that expression is very helpful in meetings, group discussions, and even friendly conversations when you want to make it clear that you are sharing your personal opinion rather than stating a fact.
Let me give an example so our listeners can understand it better, because sometimes examples make learning much easier and more memorable for language learners.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
From my point of view, learning English every day for at least 15 minutes is more effective than studying for several hours only once a week. Because consistency helps your brain remember information more easily.
That's a very useful idea. And I completely agree with you, because regular practice builds confidence, and helps learners develop better speaking habits over time. Now, let's talk about another expression that is extremely useful when you want to delay your answer for a moment, especially when someone asks you a difficult question and you need time to think. Think carefully before responding.
I think I know the expression you were talking about.
Yes, the expression is, "let me get back to you," which means that you will answer the question later after you have more information or more time to think about the situation.
That expression is very common in professional environments, especially in offices, customer service jobs, and business meetings, where people need time to check information before giving a final answer.
For example, you could say, "let me get back to you tomorrow after I check the schedule and confirm the meeting time with the manager," which sounds polite and professional.
Yes, and using expressions like "let me get back to you" shows that you are responsible and organized, which creates a positive impression in both personal and professional situations. Another expression that many English learners find extremely helpful when they want to express uncertainty in a polite and thoughtful way is "there's a good chance that," which allows you to talk about possibilities without sounding too confident or too negative about the situation.
Yes, that's a very useful expression, especially when you are talking about future plans or predictions, because sometimes we don't have all the information yet, but we still want to share our expectations in a realistic and responsible way.
For example, you could say, "there's a good chance that the weather will improve later this afternoon," which sounds much more natural and conversational than simply saying, "the weather will be better," because it shows flexibility in your thinking.
Exactly. And another expression that works very well when you want to make a suggestion in a polite and respectful way is, "why don't we?" Because it sounds friendly and cooperative instead of giving a direct command or instruction to another person.
Yes, and this expression is very common in teamwork situations, group projects, and everyday conversations with friends or coworkers when you want to share an idea and invite others to participate in the decision-making process.
For instance, you could say, "why don't we review the plan one more time before we make a final decision?" which shows that you care about accuracy and teamwork, while also encouraging cooperation from everyone involved in the discussion.
Another expression that learners should definitely practice is "at the end of the day," because it helps you summarize your opinion or focus on the most important result after discussing many different ideas or possibilities.
Yes, and this expression is especially useful in conversations about work, personal goals, or decision-making, because it allows you to bring attention back to the main point after considering different perspectives or opinions.
For example, you might say, "at the end of the day, the most important thing is to keep learning and improving your skills," which emphasizes the final conclusion of your thoughts in a clear and confident way.
That sounds like very good advice, and it reminds me of another helpful expression, which is "in the long run," because it allows you to talk about the future and explain how today's actions can create positive results over time.
Yes, exactly. And that expression is very motivating for learners who sometimes feel impatient or discouraged, because learning a language requires consistent effort and patience before you can see real progress.
For example, you could say, "practicing English every day may feel difficult at first, but in the long run, it will help you become more confident and comfortable when speaking with other people," which encourages persistence and dedication.
Let's talk about another expression that is very useful when you want to show agreement in a thoughtful and respectful way, especially during discussions where different opinions are being shared among participants.
Hmm. Are you referring to the expression, "you've got a point"? Because that phrase is commonly used when you recognize that someone else's idea is reasonable or logical, even if you originally had a different opinion about the situation.
Yes, exactly. And using "you've got a point" helps maintain a positive conversation atmosphere because it shows that you are listening carefully and respecting the other person's perspective rather than arguing or disagreeing aggressively.
For instance, you could say, "You've got a point about saving money before traveling because unexpected expenses can happen at any time," which demonstrates understanding and maturity in your communication style.
Another expression that is extremely useful when you want to move from one topic to another during a conversation is "speaking of which," because it creates a smooth transition between related ideas without confusing your listeners.
Yes, and transitions are very important in English, conversations, presentations, and storytelling because they help listeners follow your thoughts more easily and understand how different topics are connected to each other.
For example, you might say, "Speaking of which, have you finished preparing the report for tomorrow's meeting?" Which naturally connects the new question to the previous discussion about work responsibilities.
That's a very natural way to continue a conversation. And it makes your speech sound more fluent and organized.
Mia, I've been thinking about improving my English skills because I want to communicate more confidently at work and participate in meetings without feeling nervous or uncertain about my vocabulary and grammar.
That sounds like a great goal. And from my point of view, the best way to improve your communication skills is to practice speaking regularly and use new expressions in real conversations whenever you have the opportunity.
That makes sense, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed when I see so many new words and expressions, and I'm not always sure which ones are the most important to learn first.
There's a good chance that you are trying to learn too many things at the same time. So why don't we focus on a few useful expressions each week and practice them until they feel natural and comfortable in your daily conversations?
You've got a point. Because learning slowly and consistently seems more realistic than trying to memorize everything in one day without understanding how to use the language properly.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is not how many words you know, but how confidently you can use those words to express your ideas and connect with other people.
That's a very helpful perspective. And I believe that practicing a little every day will make a big difference in the long run, even if the progress feels slow at the beginning of the learning process.
Yes, and speaking of which, have you considered joining an English conversation group or practicing with friends online? Because interacting with real people can help you build confidence much faster than studying alone.
That's an interesting idea, and I would like to try it, but I need some time to check my schedule and make sure I can attend the meetings regularly without missing important responsibilities at work.
No problem at all. Just let me get back to you later this week after I find a suitable group that matches your availability and learning goals, because there are many options available for learners at different levels.
That sounds perfect. And as far as I know, practicing with others is one of the fastest ways to improve speaking skills and develop confidence in real-life communication situations.
Absolutely. And it turns out that many successful learners achieve their goals by staying consistent, asking questions, and continuing to practice even when they felt nervous or made small mistakes along the way.
Thank you for sharing these ideas because they make me feel more motivated and confident about continuing my English learning journey and reaching my personal and professional goals.
You're very welcome. And remember that learning a language is a long process that requires patience, persistence, and regular practice. But the rewards are definitely worth the effort in the end.
Hey Mia, I've been thinking seriously about improving my English communication skills because I want to feel more confident when speaking with international clients at work.
That sounds like a very smart decision. And from my point of view, improving your communication skills can open many new opportunities for your career and personal development.
Yes, I agree with that idea, but sometimes I feel confused about where to start because there are so many books, courses, and online lessons available.
Well, as far as I know, the most effective way to improve your English is to focus on daily practice and real conversations instead of only studying grammar rules.
That makes sense because I noticed that when I practice speaking regularly, I feel more comfortable expressing my thoughts and explaining my ideas clearly.
Exactly. And it turns out that many successful learners achieved great results simply by practicing consistently and staying patient, even when progress felt slow at the beginning.
I understand that, but sometimes I feel tired after work and I don't always have enough energy to study for a long time in the evening.
That's completely normal. And on the other hand, you don't need to study for many hours every day to see improvement, because even short practice sessions can make a big difference over time.
You've got a point, because when I practice for just 15 minutes, I still learn new words and feel more confident about speaking English.
Exactly. And in the long run, small daily habits create strong language skills, because your brain becomes more familiar with the sounds and patterns of the language.
That makes me feel more motivated, because sometimes I worry that my progress is too slow and that I will never become fluent in English.
Don't worry too much, because there's a good chance that you are improving more than you realize, especially if you continue practicing regularly and challenging yourself to use new expressions.
That's a comforting thought. And I think I should start setting small goals each week so I can measure my progress more clearly.
That's a great idea. And why don't we create a simple study plan together that includes listening, speaking, reading, and vocabulary practice throughout the week?
That sounds very helpful. But I need to check my work schedule first to see which days I am available for studying.
No problem at all. Just let me get back to you tomorrow after I review some useful learning resources that match your level and your daily routine.
Thank you. I really appreciate your support because learning English sometimes feels challenging, but having guidance makes the process much easier and more enjoyable.
You're very welcome. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is to stay consistent and believe in your ability to improve step by step.
Yes, I completely agree with that idea. And speaking of which, I recently joined an online English conversation group where people from different countries practice speaking together every weekend.
That sounds like a fantastic opportunity because interacting with real people helps you develop confidence and learn how to respond naturally in different situations.
Yes, and I noticed that after just a few sessions, I felt more comfortable expressing my opinions and asking questions during conversations.
That's wonderful progress, and it shows that your hard work is already producing positive results, even if the changes seem small at first.
You're right, and I think I should continue practicing every day, even when I feel tired or busy, because consistency is the key to long-term success.
Exactly, and remember that learning a language is a journey, not a race. So focus on steady improvement rather than perfect performance.
Thank you for reminding me of that because sometimes I forget that mistakes are part of the learning process and that every mistake helps me become a better speaker.
Absolutely. And if you keep practicing, staying patient, and using these expressions in real conversations, you will see amazing progress in your English skills over time.
That gives me a lot of confidence, and I feel ready to continue learning and practicing English every day from now on.
That's the spirit, and I truly believe that with dedication and persistence, you will achieve your language goals and communicate confidently in any situation.
Now, before we finish today's episode, let's review all the important expressions we learned together so you can remember them and start using them in your real-life conversations.
Yes, repetition is very important when learning a language because hearing the same expressions many times helps your brain remember them more easily and use them naturally.
So listen carefully, repeat after us, and try to imagine yourself using these expressions in your daily life, at work, at school, or when speaking with friends. Expression number 1. As far as I know.
This expression means that you are sharing information based on what you understand, but you are not completely sure if it is 100% correct.
Example sentence. As far as I know, the meeting starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Expression number 2. It turns out that.
This expression means that you discovered new information that surprised you or changed your understanding of a situation.
Example sentence. It turns out that the restaurant was not closed, but only renovating the building.
Expression number 3. On the other hand.
This expression is used to present a different opinion or another side of a situation.
Example sentence. Working from home is convenient, but on the other hand, it can sometimes feel lonely.
Expression number 4. From my point of view.
This expression is used to share your personal opinion in a polite and respectful way.
Example sentence. From my point of view, practicing English every day is the best way to improve your speaking skills.
Expression number 5. Let me get back to you.
This expression means that you need more time to think or check information before giving an answer.
Example sentence. Let me get back to you tomorrow after I check my schedule.
Expression number 6. There's a good chance that.
This expression is used to talk about a strong possibility in the future.
Example sentence. There's a good chance that we will finish the project by next week.
Expression number 7. Why don't we...
This expression is used to make a friendly suggestion.
Example sentence. Why don't we practice English together after dinner tonight?
Expression number 8. At the end of the day.
This expression is used to talk about the final result or the most important point.
Example sentence. At the end of the day, the most important thing is to keep learning.
Expression number 9. In the long run.
This expression is used to talk about results that will happen in the future after some time.
Example sentence. Studying a little every day will help you succeed in the long run.
Expression number 10. You've got a point.
This expression is used when you agree that someone else's idea is reasonable or correct.
Example sentence. You've got a point about saving money before traveling.
Expression number 11. Speaking of which.
This expression is used to connect one topic to another related topic.
Example sentence. Speaking of which, have you finished your homework yet? Now, let's repeat all the expressions together one more time. Repeat after us. As far as I know, it turns out that, on the other hand, from my point of view, let me get back to you. There's a good chance that, why don't we, at the end of the day, in the long run, you've got a point. Speaking of which, great job today, and congratulations on learning these useful English expressions that can help you sound more natural and confident in real conversation.
Remember to practice these expressions every day because repetition is the key to building strong communication skills and improving your fluency over time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, and we hope these advanced expressions help you communicate more naturally and confidently in your daily conversations.
Keep practicing, keep repeating the expressions you learned today, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because mistakes are a natural part of the learning process.
We'll see you in the next episode where we will continue exploring useful English skills for real life situations. Goodbye,
and keep learning English every day.